What's up guys, my name is Carl and welcome to my channel. I just wanted to talk to you about what this channel is about in this video and basically to cover my vision, my goal for this channel with you guys as it's related to my own story where basically I came from 20 bucks all the way to now being a real estate investor and working my way towards that million. I wanted to present it to you because I realized that my story isn't unique just to me, but actually what I realized is that experiences that I went through aren't unique just to me, but actually these same opportunities are available for everyone. And it's really exciting to me because what I realize is that, we still live in America, we still live in the land of opportunity, and really the opportunities are there. The tools that you need to achieve soaring success are right in front of you if you just know where to look. And what my own experience has helped me realize is that if you work hard enough, anyone can go from zero, from a curb on the street, to hero, getting to their first $1 million in 3 years if they know how to use the right tools and take advantage of the right opportunities in front of them. My story basically begins back in college. I got a degree in construction management from Colorado State. And over the course of my college years, I went to work for some nice construction companies around the country. And so I was in Arizona, I was in California, and ultimately my last job for construction was at a nice office in Hawaii, where I was working a good job from a nice office with a view of the ocean, specifically of Aloha Bay. But what I realized is that all my time and all my energy was going into my job, going into this bigger company. Sound familiar? And for me, what I realized is that the pay that I got, the recompense that I got, just didn't match exactly the kind of lifestyle that I wanted. Now, I'm not here to talk about not working and making a whole bunch of money and being on a beach for the rest of your life. What I'm talking about here is taking advantage of the opportunities around you to really take control, to empower yourself to live the kind of life that suits you the best, that really allows you and empowers you to reach your goals. So basically it was from that point to 2017 that I started considering what is a way that I can get around the system, that I can get around working your traditional salary job so that I can have more free time, so that I can have a little bit more freedom for myself to pursue my goals and to do what it is that I want to do with my time, to really live my life and not to just be subjected to 50 hours, 60 hours of giving my life to somebody else before I can have the rest of the time for me. So that was the beginning of my entrepreneur journey. And so since then, I started looking for opportunities. And I found my first opportunity in 2018 when I was in Hawaii, where I started actually a camper van business. And I'll talk to you about that later because it's a great business opportunity. But eventually, because of COVID, the camper van business shut down. So then I had to keep going and looking and innovating and looking for more ways to be able to find this alternate method, to find this other way. And so, to give credit where credit is due, eventually I saw a video by Ryan Pineda, credit to Ryan, about couch flipping. And actually, to be honest, I had already known about flipping since before I saw Ryan's couch video. Specifically, the six months before I saw that video, I had already started flipping stuff myself. I remember I had this realization moment where I walked into a Chipotle and was ordering a burrito, and I had just sold a console, a PS4 actually, and made about $100 from selling that PS4. And I was there at the line and I was looking at the person who was making the burrito, and I just realized, in the last 30 minutes that I spent to make this $100, this guy probably has to work like 8 hours or 10 hours to be able to make the same amount of money as I just did in 30 minutes. And that's when I realized that one of the ways that you can really get income for yourself on your own terms is through flipping. And so that was one of the first experiences that I had that helped me realize what business really is and some of the opportunities that are out there. So eventually, fast forward 6 months, I see Ryan's video on couches and I couldn't believe it. I was thinking, no way, couches? Like, I would pull up my phone and I would see that there were a whole bunch of free couches on Marketplace. And I'd think to myself, there's no way people would be willing to pay money for something that they can get for free on Facebook Marketplace. But I was like, I mean, it seems real, it seems legit. That was his story, so I guess I'll give it a shot. And sure enough, I took a shot. I pulled up Facebook Marketplace. I saw a nice looking free couch, and I rented a truck and I went and picked it up and, you know, stored it, got a photo of it. And sure enough, like 2 or 3 days later, I sold it for $250. And to me, that was like light bulb moment. I couldn't believe it. And so I realized I can use this to get to my real goal, which is that first $1 million. And by the way, in case you are interested in couch flipping, I built out a whole course for it that goes from A to Z, from finding the deal to buying it, to picking it up, to storing it, to taking photos, to selling it, and eventually getting your profit. In case you're interested, the link is down in the description. But anyway, eventually what I realized is that this is powerful enough for me to actually make the jump to eventually reach my goal of reaching that first $1 million. Specifically, I had already known about real estate at the time, but what I wasn't sure about was how to bridge the connection between basically $0 all the way to, you know, thousands of dollars, which you need to eventually get into real estate. And so when I saw this video and when I finally sold this couch, I realized, holy cow, like this is real. This is actually possible. And again, credit to where credit's due. That was Ryan's story. Ryan eventually flipped enough couches and took out a big enough loan that he was able to get into real estate. And so when I saw his pattern, then I realized I can do it too. And so for me, I've actually done it too. And so what I'd like to do now is present it to you guys and tell you that it is possible and you can make it. The opportunity is real as long as you are willing to work hard enough and take the right steps and to take the right action, and also to be willing to take the risk. So again, that's the real burden, that's the real vision of this channel. I know it's not just isolated to couch flipping and real estate. Actually, in my journey of couch flipping, I realized that there are tons of opportunities out there. There are tons of business models where you can start from zero to very little capital, all the way to generating enough income every month and every year for you to be able to build up the minimum capital requirement for you to get into an intermediate level business model, for example, like real estate investing. What I'm gonna do with this channel is to make a different series of these different business models that allow you to go from zero to hero, that allow you to go from literally being on the curb, on the street, all the way to eventually your first $1 million. The hardest thing is to get through that phase one, is what I call it, capital requirement barrier, basically where you have to get through from $0 to maybe your first $50,000 or $100,000. That is the hardest amount because it is actually the most inefficient amount of money that you make, because until you have a lot of money, it's hard to make money very quickly through conventional means. A lot of people, to get their first $50,000 or $100,000, have to work at a career for, you know, many years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. I've heard of people waiting and saving up, you know, just $20,000 or $30,000 so that they can buy a house, which to me is just like really sad that we're in such a state like that. I feel like you shouldn't have to spend a third of your life just to be able to save enough to buy your house. So instead, and you don't actually, because actually there are all these other ways you can do it, it's just you have to know where they are. So when I saw this opportunity, I decided to set up a roadmap for myself for how I'd get past through phase one into what I call phase two, which is now the intermediate level business model. Specifically, I wanted to figure out how to get through phase one by going from $0, like I mentioned, to the capital requirement that I needed to get into that first property. And so in my case, I actually was looking at Austin, Texas. I wanted to move to Austin, Texas because Austin has a great housing market here, and I wanted to be part of the real estate game that is going on. So what I realized is, okay, the medium house price here is roughly $300,000. And if I'm gonna be getting a loan on that, I'm probably going to need about $50,000 minimum to be able to get into that first property and have enough funds to rehab it. So that's when I realized I need to go from $0 to $50,000. And what's gonna do that? That's gonna be couches. So I set up the plan, and now I just wanted to set up a timeline. And so realistically, Ryan at that time mentioned that couches can make anywhere from $8,000 to $10,000 a month. And so with that being the math, I realized, okay, I can probably make that amount by July because I started in January, so 6 months. And so that is actually what happened. I showed up in Austin, and over the next 6 months, I absolutely worked my butt off. I ground myself to dust through so many couches, through hundreds of couches, but it actually happened. And I was able to save up enough money to be able to pull out a loan and eventually get into my first property, which since then I've flipped and have moved on to the next one. So I'd like to present the roadmap for how you can go from zero to hero, from $0 to eventually soaring success. So first you have to deal with phase one, which is starting at zero and not having a lot of capital to begin with. And what you want to do is find a business model, for example, in my case, and again, we're going to cover it in this channel, but you want to find a business model like couch flipping, which doesn't require more than $100 to get started, but is able to generate 5 to 6 figures in income for you every year. Specifically, what I would say is you want to find something that is able to generate at least $7,000 for you every month. In today's economy, unfortunately, with rent, with bills, with inflation going on, with the high cost of daily consumer goods, chances are if you're only making like $4,000 or $5,000 a month, or even $3,000 or $4,000 a month, you just won't have any money to be able to save. So you need, I would say, at least $7,000 if you can, so that you can have enough buffer to be able to start saving your money. Even if you can save a minimum of $3,000 to $4,000 every month, within literally a year, you will have saved $30,000 to $40,000 or even $50,000 with a business model, for example, like couch flipping, if it makes $7,000 for you a month. If you do that, then even within a year, and instead of 5 years or 10 years or 20 years, you will be able to have saved enough to get into your first house if you decide real estate investing is the way you want to go. Typically, the only way that you can make $7,000 a month is by getting a good degree from a university and working as a professional for a large business that salaries you for that amount. But again, what's beautiful about the business models that I'd like to present to you is that they don't require any education. They just require the basic skill set that you need to pick it up, and then the diligence and the hard work to actually carry it out. And once you take up one of these businesses that can produce that level of income that meets your minimum capital requirement every month, then you just save. You save every penny that you can. Don't blow it on cars, don't blow it on parties. Be diligent, work hard, save the money, just put it into another account and forget about it if that's what you need to do. And then when the time comes, you'll reach that amount and you'll be able to get into your phase 2 business model. In my case, that was real estate. And then finally, once you get to phase 2, which I would define as having a working business model now that makes at least $250,000 for you a year. Once you get into this phase, then you'll be able to essentially write it out or scale it, grow it even more with the funds that you're now making, so that you can eventually hit that $1 million in the next 3 years. So I just presented to you the roadmap for how you can go from $0 to $1 million. Like I said, you start with a phase 1 business model, which requires little to no capital to get started and can generate that 5 to 6 figure income every year. And then you save up to get your initial capital requirement until you now have enough to get into your next business model, which can produce much more than that. In other words, you reach phase 2, and then eventually you just ride out phase 2 until you get to that $1 million. So to conclude this video, basically I just like to say, this journey, even though it's real, is not easy. And I just want to be clear and upfront with you now about that, because again, we seem to be living in an age where it's all about getting rich quick and easy and just finding that secret ultra business model that's gonna somehow make you $1 million without you having to do very much. The truth is, there is no free lunch, and you are gonna have to work, and actually it's healthy and it's good for you to be willing to work. But if you are willing to put in the work, then the reward will come. And I personally believe, and this is my experience, that if you're willing to be patient enough, if you're diligent enough, if you're willing to put in the work, and if you never, ever, ever give up, and if you believe in yourself, you really can make it. And I'm not saying that in a cheesy way, I mean that for real. This is really what it takes. I can't tell you how many times I second-guessed myself along the journey, how many times I thought to myself, oh, you're just some kid, you can't get into real estate. You're not one of the big boys, that's a big boy thing. But eventually you just have to tell that voice in your head to shut up and just keep going. And that you can do it, and that you will make it, because you can and you will if you put in the work. What I love about this journey is I realize it's not just me, I'm not anything special. It's for everyone. Anyone can do it. And what I want to do is just present you the opportunity so that you can see what's in front of you. And this content isn't just isolated to this channel, but also we have a weekly newsletter that you can sign up for. There's a link in the description below for that. And by the way, if you do sign up, I'll include a bonus video that I made which talks about my top 3 tips for a starting entrepreneur with some of the challenges that you face and how to prepare for them and how to overcome them.